Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. I don't want to jinx it, but I might be getting better. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, last night, I went home and went to bed. That never happens. You know, it is amazing that if I get like a normal 6 to 8 hours sleep, I get behind. I mean, I do. If I get like 6 hours sleep, that means I am getting behind my work.
Oh, and your work, okay. Well,
I mean, that is terrible.
But you know what? Sometimes your body just tells you, hey, look, we need to slow down.
And you know what? I listen to my body. I actually do. And I tell you right now, the last 3 days, I have just been sick. I have had a low-grade fever. My wife took my temperature last night, and it was 99.
99?
Which is considered a low-grade temperature.
That'd be a great feel-good song.
Isn't there a song, 99?
Yeah.
Well, that's our feel-good song.
There are two, where was it, 99 red balloons, and then there's 99.
I like 99.
Yeah.
99.
That ought to be.
Is that Tojo or something like that?
Taco.
Taco Poco?
Polo.
Nacho Folo? Marco
like
Polo?
Yeah, somebody like that.
Do you know whose birthdays are today?
No, I do not.
We have a great trifecta. Cy Young.
Really?
The great award named after the great pitcher, the Cy Young.
Wow.
Elle McPherson, who claims she's a socialist who hates America and lives in London. I will never like Elle McPherson again.
That's okay.
And then the most important one.
Yes.
23 years ago today, my little girl, my firstborn, my daughter, Erica Caroline Deters was born.
Well, happy birthday to Erica.
We celebrated it yesterday at dinner and a cake from the Bonbonnery, opera cream cake from Bonbonnery. I apologize to all of my friends who also make cakes, but the Bonbonnery opera cream cake is the best cake in the tri-state.
Opera cream? Did the fat lady
Other than the hot fudge cake at Frisch's.
Ooh, yeah.
And all the desserts you can get, the Montgomery Inn, the Grandview Cafe, Snappy Tomato Pizza,
there are a lot
and all
of
of our wonderful restaurants who spend money on this radio station.
Seriously, though, there are a lot of great places to get, really good desserts around here.
Absolutely. I like dessert. It's bad for you, but what the heck. This day in history, besides all the birthdays, some great stuff.
Yeah.
Beethoven was buried in Vienna, Austria. 20,000 people came.
Really?
That's a lot of people coming to your burial.
That's more than Michael Jackson's funeral.
I mean, I would think in mine there'd only be like 15,000, not 20,000 that comes to my burial.
Wow. But he was. I mean, he was the superstar of the day.
Yes, he was.
He was the thriller of the day.
I think the neatest fact about Beethoven is that his Ode to Joy, he did that. He did that when he was completely deaf.
Yeah. And he was an unhappy man.
He was a miserable man.
How do you write a song called Ode to Joy and be as unhappy?
You know the reason why, and this is why he was deaf. His dad beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
That's how he lost his hearing. Jack Parr, he was the Tonight Show man before Johnny Carson, his final appearance in 1962. Huge day, all you Vietnam vets out there. The U.S. troops left Vietnam this day in 1973.
All right.
Do you realize we were only in Vietnam 9 years from the Tonkin Resolution? I mean, we've been in Afghanistan longer than we were in Vietnam.
Wow.
That's messed up.
Think we've overstayed our welcome?
Yes. 1987, WrestleMania 3. This is hilarious when I think about it. 93,000 watched Hulk Hogan beat Andre the Giant.
Wow.
Man, I remember back in those days when wrestling was big.
Oh, yeah.
It was getting big.
And it was real.
It was real. It wasn't fake stuff like they do now. That MMA stuff is fake. Howard Stern's radio show premiered in Chicago in 1995.
Huh.
We don't care about Howard, though.
Yeah.
He's a jackwagon, man, because he's not on our station.
That's right.
And you know what? I'm rebounding a little bit with the humor. Well, actually, yesterday it wasn't bad, but I got a great joke for the day.
All right. Are you going to tell it now, or are you going to save it?
I'm going to tell it right now. And
now?
And you know why? Because I want to start the show off with everybody in a happy mood before I depress the hell out of them.
Uh-oh.
On the first day of college, the dean addressed the students, pointing out many of the important rules. The female dormitory will be out of bounds for all male students, and the male dormitory to the female students. Anybody caught breaking this rule will be fined $20. Anybody caught breaking this rule for the second time will be fined $60. If you are caught violating this rule for the third time, it will be $180. Are there any questions about these rules? A male student raised his hand and said, "How much for a season pass?" I like it when I make you and Jacob laugh. That's when I know somebody listening. That's a good one.
That was a good one.
Good joke today. And with that, let's just go right into your pop culture, shall we?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Earl Scruggs. 88-year-old bluegrass icon. I know you know who Earl Scruggs was.
Yeah.
He passed away of natural causes. 88 years old.
We're going to find something of his for a feel-good song.
American Idol. 5 standing ovations by judges. How do you like that? Holly Kavanaugh and Skylar Lane blew away the judges. Very good. Spike Lee. He has tweeted an apology. I deeply apologize to the McClane family for retweeting their address. It was the wrong address. Please leave the McClanes in peace. Justice in court. Spike, you messed up, buddy. Nobody won the Mega Millions. So it's now going to be over $500 million. And the drawing's Friday. Don't bother. I'm going to win. The Titanic is going to come out in 3D. How do you like that? In April. Let me see. Bieber also. All these tweeters messing up. He tweeted wrong. He tweeted his phone number that was somebody else's. You know, how you like this? I feel insignificant. Justin Bieber has 19 million Twitter followers.
Wow.
You know what?
Personal friends.
You could have all of your followers spend $1 on your merchandise, and you got $19 million. I mean, that's an incredible.
That's true.
19 million followers.
He could work from home.
X Factor. Britney Spears says no thanks. They are going to speak to Rihanna. So Britney Spears says no. So we have Rihanna trying to save the day. Also in pop culture, and this is huge news, Will Ferrell has announced there will be a sequel to one of my top 5 all-time comedies, Anchorman.
Really?
Anchorman 2. He did it in character, too, when he announced it.
Did he?
Yeah, Will Ferrell. He's so funny. God, he said something about, like, we'd like to announce to all at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And he said something about all of our friends in Spain, in the United Kingdom, including England. I mean, he's just hilarious, man.
I like his style of humor.
You know, the key to humor is you say something that there's a little bit of truth to it, or you say something just so off the wall, it's funny.
Yeah.
And he's got,
like Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, absolutely. In sports today, you know, how about this, TC? What if you are such a big deal? I hope one day Nike and Reebok are suing each other, fighting over Bulldog Nation apparel.
Who gets the merchandising rights?
I want Nike and Reebok to fight over me.
Now, who are they fighting over? Don't tell me. Not really.
Tim Tebow.
Get out.
Nike went to court Wednesday to prove that Reebok is who is. Now, get this. Nike claims in the lawsuit that Reebok has used Tebow's name on Jets-related apparel without permission since it was announced Tebow was traded from the Broncos to New York. The Tebow trade occurred just before Nike replaced Reebok on Sunday as the supplier of NFL team uniforms.
Oh, wow.
Nice timing.
Really?
Can you imagine how many Tebow jerseys are going to be sold in New York? Mark Sanchez, who says, we're going to work together, is going to feel, what's that called, persona non grata?
Something like that, yeah.
Kentucky, they're going to be in their 15th Final Four appearance. Now, this is something that I got out. I'm going to find it here because I want to give credit to where it's due. This was in the Enquirer today. This is pretty wild. Apparently, with the lockout in the NBA, a lot of the NBA players came down and played the UK Wildcats this year, including Kevin Durant. He says, I called it. Everybody on their team said they're the best team in the country. On our team, they have 5 pros on their team. And apparently LeBron James, Rajon Rondo, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Kevin Durant played these guys, and they beat them, but not by much.
Really?
And apparently these pros are like, man, these guys are good.
Yeah.
UK will stomp Louisville. When we come back, we'll finish sports and then move on Real Talk 1160.
Coming up at 7:28, Bill O'Reilly's Talking Points here on Real Talk 1160. And now, back to the Bulldog.
This is Eric Deters, the Bulldog. I'm proud to have Bill O'Reilly and Mike Huckabee interrupt my show every day.
Have you noticed that every time, for the past week or so, no matter what it is you're talking about between, say, 8:15, 8:30, Mike Huckabee always comes on, and it's like this guy's listening, and there's like he's taking notes.
Supreme Court, yep.
And then he comes on,
yep.
You know.
That means that we're both paying attention to topic A.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That's what that means.
Good. I like the way he's put that.
That means we're both on our game.
Yes.
Listen, this is a quote from Duran Lamb about the NBA players, including Kevin Durant and LeBron James. They came out here and just tried to kill us, really. They weren't taking it easy on us, especially Kevin Durant, who might be the best player in the NBA. Every time he got the ball, he tried to shoot it, and he was talking dunk. We didn't get crushed, Teague said, but they beat us. Players for Oklahoma City and Kentucky mixed and matched in one afternoon, ran 5-on-5 games on 2 different courts for 2 hours. By the end, the Wildcats were holding their own and carrying a new confidence. That's when we knew we had a pretty good team, said Darius Miller. I'm telling you right now, the only way UK loses the national championship this year isn't going to be because of bad coaching. It's going to be because of an injury or foul trouble. And here's the reason why. They've got 3 guys that can shoot it from the outside. Teague, Lamb, and Miller. And Wiltshire. They got 4 people. So they're not going to have a complete cold night shooting outside. But here's the other thing is, they don't count on that. They take it inside. They do layups and dunks.
Right.
So, and they play defense too. I mean, I crack up at these commentators all tournament long, have been watching the UK Wildcats, and they say, well, where's their weakness? And they say they ain't got any weakness.
There's none.
I mean, they say they admit they ain't got no weakness.
There are no cracks in the dam.
I mean, if they're not shooting outside, they're going to take it to the basket. And I'll tell you something, and I get all, sorry I'm getting all gushy, that you Buckeye fans out there. And I know you guys have a really good team too, Buckeye fans. But I'm telling you, you don't have 6 NBA players on your team. And here's the other thing that I watch. There's so many things, especially all you listening that are UK fans or haters. The one thing that I love so much about this team is they can finish when Teague and Lamb and especially Kid Gilchrist, when they are driving to the basket, even if there's 2 defenders on them, they finish. I mean, they don't drive to the basket and not finish.
Right.
They know how to dunk, lay it in, get fouled, and that is the sign of an NBA player, in my opinion. An NBA player is the kind of guy that's taking it to the basket.
Right, right.
And it's a joy. You're a UK fan. Isn't it a joy to watch?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we watch the game. We're like, gosh, this is so much fun.
And I tell you something else about Ohio State fans. My brother, he went to Ohio State, so, he's a huge Buckeye fan. But he works around, just a bunch of UC grads.
Right.
He said last week, he said, if Ohio State would have lost, he said, I'd have killed myself. He said, I talk so much smack at work. He's like, it's like, dude, it's just a game. They'll be back next season. And
Sullinger's a great player. Sullinger's a great player. But I'm telling you right now, he can't do the things Davis does.
You got a point.
And guess what? Davis, not Sullinger, is going to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft.
Right. Now, you know
what that means is, you know what? Michael Jordan can screw up anything, though. Michael Jordan always thinks outside the box to his detriment. Do you think the Charlotte Bobcats are going to take Anthony Davis? Do you hope? I mean, the Charlotte Bobcats. Let me see. Who should we pick here? Let's pick this high school guy that maybe will be a great player. Let's pick this European guy. If they don't take Anthony Davis, who in my opinion is like Kevin Garnett. I mean, this guy's like Kevin Garnett. Can shoot the three, play the D, take it in, do it all.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think Kevin Garnett is one of the best basketball players of all time.
I want to go back to something you said about Tebow. You know, I saw the other day, they've got a sandwich now. It's like 6 inches high. The sandwich, the Tebow sandwich, okay? They've got the huge billboard they've got for Tebow. Now, think about it. The average guy, okay, as a kid, your dream to grow up, play in the NFL, you're making money, you're famous, everybody loves you. As a guy, now, let's just think now. What's the next thing that you want to have? Okay? Not Tebow.
Tebow.
Not going to cross the finish line, is
Nope.
Not even getting in the gate.
Absolutely.
Isn't that sad?
It is sad. It is sad, but it's the truth. More sports news. The Reds beat the Angels 5-4. Knicks beat Magic. The Celtics beat the Jazz. And get this, Dennis Rodman, God love him, facing 20 days in jail if he doesn't pay $860,000 in child support. Whoa. He was found in contempt of court. You know what's sad, TC?
What's that?
And by the way, as a guy that spends, because I got so many bills and so many kids and so many obligations, I'm sympathetic. But you know what's so sad is these guys make the money, and man, if they don't stash it away, when their careers are over, they don't have like Dennis Rodman is not going to be an announcer, an NBA analyst. Rodman has done nothing. I mean, what's Rodman done since his career's over? He can't find a job. And then it's trouble city. Okay, that's all we have in sports, and I got two interesting science and health news. The most dangerous animal in the world, TC. Now this might shock you. It's not the tiger. It's not the king cobra.
A radio account executive?
Yes. The common housefly. Because of their habits of visiting animal waste, they transmit more diseases than any other animal. So, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, if some animal lover doesn't like you swatting that housefly, tell him to shove off and smash it. Do you believe that? The housefly, the most dangerous animal in the world. Some good news on the cancer front, because we all know cancer sucks. According to statistics, cancer deaths declined 1.7% among men and 1.3% among women from 98 to 2008. It's not much, but it beats it going the other direction. The Trayvon shooter video footage. Police videos show him walking into the police department with no blood, visible bruising, stains, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, let me tell you something. That might be the case, but have you ever thought that maybe he got cleaned up a little bit? You know, if he got his nose broken, busted, they might have cleaned him up a little bit by the time he got to the police station. Just a thought. So that may not mean anything. And they had Marcia Clark commenting on CNN. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, should Marcia Clark, the jackwagon prosecutor of O.J. Simpson, be given any legal analyst job in this country? CNN, call me, the Bulldog, 859-250-2527. Don't call Marcia Clark.
They must be on a budget crunch or something. Can you imagine?
Marcia, come on. Yeah. Why would anybody want Marcia? She lost a slam dunk.
Right. You know, we've got a controversial case going on. Who can we get to speak on it? Let's get that loser from the
God. And then that's
all we can afford.
And then they wrote books. Her and the other, Chris Darden. They wrote books and made $1 million writing a book about how they lost the O.J. Simpson case.
We all watched it. We know how you guys
Good
lost.
Golly. Do you know they didn't? Some of the things they didn't do. You know, they didn't present O.J. Simpson going to the gravesite of Nicole with who was O.J.'s buddies? I forget O.J.'s buddy.
LC.
LC. I mean, duh.
LC, damn it.
That was relevant. How come they didn't show that to them? Why would O.J. be doing this?
And why the heck would you put Kato Kalin on the stand?
When we come back, more Radio Superbity on Real Talk 1160. Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. You know, I kind of crack up at these videos people take from their cell phones as if they're not taking them to show later. In other words, they act like, we just happen to be videotaping this, and then it ends up on the news. It's kind of like
or on YouTube.
It's kind of like the people fleeing the fire in Colorado inside their SUV. You know, all the drama to it. You know,
right?
And then they act like, well, they weren't taking this for purposes of giving it to the news. My butt.
We make a few dollars. We'll sell this to CNN.
You know, a little known. We honored Mr. Scruggs, 88 years old, who passing away. A little known Earl Scruggs contribution to pop culture, the Ballad of Jed Clampett. The Ballad of Jed Clampett was Earl Scruggs.
Yeah.
Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs.
Listen to that banjo.
This is a classic, baby. The Ballad of Jed Clampett. Oh, we don't have the words of this version? That's all right. We just want to honor Earl. Now, here we go. My brother's named Jed. Wouldn't you love to find some crude?
Green water.
Green water.
Hey, there's an idea here. Hey.
Yes. Didn't you love Beverly Hillbillies?
That was a great show. I love Ellie Mae.
What was that guy's name? Miss Drysdale. Mr. Drysdale.
Mr. Drysdale.
He was so funny. What a suck-up banker, man.
Mr. Clampett. Mr. Clampett.
My Granny Crippenstaple looked like Granny. I think that's
right?
maybe why she was called Granny.
Huh. And Jethro.
Oh, my God.
Max Baer Jr. You know who Max Baer Sr. was?
No.
He was a boxer.
Really?
Yeah, professional boxer. His dad was a boxer.
There's a lot of Jeffros out there in the country. Trust me.
Look at that ride.
And there's a few Ellie Mays. Not many, but a few.
Yeah. I'd like to see Ellie Mae and Daisy Dukes.
They nailed it with the stereotypes, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
They just nailed it. Jed, the wise hillbilly.
Yeah.
Granny, the crazy grandma.
With the gun.
The big goofus Jeffro. The hot, cute country girl.
Out by the cement pond.
Yeah, by the cement pond.
And then you got the greedy banker.
Banker.
You see, it's been going on for years, hasn't
Miss
it?
Hathaway. That's right, Miss Hathaway and Mr. Drysdale.
Mr. Drysdale was probably like Bertie Madoff back in the day.
You're right. How about this, Jack Wagon? Illinois Representative Bobby Rush was escorted out of the House chamber for wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. I tell you right now, our country, the lack of respect and so forth and so on. I mean, come on, you're a congressman and you go out on the congressional floor with a hoodie and sunglasses.
You know, that's kind of grandstanding, you know?
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got, Sergeant Arms, get him out of here.
Yeah. You want to show support, get down with the people.
And this is funny. A contributor to Bulldog Nation News came up with a funny line. He called Joe Biden America's goofy uncle. And he is, isn't he? I mean,
that's just Uncle Joe.
I mean,
yeah.
I can tell you this right now. Some people say, well, I kind of like him personally, but I don't like his pot. No. I can't stand Obama, period. Joe Biden is somebody who personally I like. I mean, Joe Biden would be fun to sit down and have a beer with.
Yeah.
But anyway, he called Scott Community College president Dr. Teresa Paper, Dr. Pepper.
Oops. What the what? Screw it. And the spin doctor said, just let that one go.
And we're going to get to the Supreme Court rulings after 8 o'clock, the Supreme Court arguments after 8 o'clock, folks. So if you want to hear my analysis, stick around at 8:05. But I got to add this to the Jackwagons. Solicitor General Donald Fiorelli. Now, he's the lawyer representing the government. When he was told he had 15 minutes left, Fiorelli says, lucky me. Can you imagine that? He's arguing a case on behalf of the United States government before the Supreme Court on the biggest case since Brown versus Board of Education, and he says, lucky me.
A little sarcasm there, huh?
I wonder, though, if the sarcasm was because he knows he was getting pounded and kind of like, lucky me, I'm going to get pounded for 15 more minutes.
So the Supreme Court is going to decide what the definition of is?
Yes.
What we've been working on?
How about this? A 12-year-old, this is mean. A Denver dad is making his son stand on a downtown street corner holding a sign that says, "I'm a thief. I took money from a family member. Don't give me money. My father made the decision after a child stole $100 from a cousin's wallet."
Whoa.
He's a good kid, said Jose Gonzalez. This is the first time he's done something. I hope it won't last. Man, you can't do that.
Why not?
I just think it's too harsh.
I should have hit him in the head with a hammer instead.
Yes.
Take off that belt.
So you think that was a good punishment?
Well, you know something? I think it's a humiliating punishment.
I'd say.
Do you think it's a deterrent to crime for this young man?
I doubt it. Yeah, hell yeah, it is. He's not going to. But see, I think it could take him. You know what? It could take him too far, and he becomes a lifetime burglar.
You go the other way with it. Next time I just won't get caught. I'll show them.
You know, why do people like Fidel Castro is an atheist? So why do you even let the Pope come to your country when you know he's going to dog you?
Yeah.
The
everybody else in the country likes him.
Yeah, at a mass, he preached against fanaticism. Raul was in the front row. He did meet with Fidel Castro. And here's another thing that always cracks me up. People who are atheists sometimes have the old deathbed confession, kind of like, I mean, if I was Fidel Castro and I got an opportunity to meet with the Pope and I'm dying or close to death, here's what I'm doing, TC. Pope, I'd be honored if you took my confession, baptized me, took my confession, and I'm going to convert to Catholicism. Holy cow!
The waters would part.
Oh! Wouldn't you take the opportunity?
Would be lifted.
I mean, if I'm Fidel, I'm thinking, hey, maybe there is a heaven, and this is going to guarantee a ticket, baby. I'm going to get baptized by the Pope.
The Pope would say, look, I'd love to hear your confession, but I really got to catch a plane in 4 hours.
No, you know the Pope would have done it. The Pope would have baptized him in the ocean in front of all of Cuba.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done if I was an atheist.
The embargo is lifted. Now go in peace.
Apparently, this Robert Bales, the American soldier that killed those innocent men and women and children, the defense is going to argue that, hey, he's got a brain injury, trauma, all that. And apparently all the soldiers are saying nothing but good things about him. That's a shocker, isn't it? Yeah. And one of our soldiers, by the way, jumped in front of an armored vehicle, saved the life of an Afghan girl, and he was crushed by the armored vehicle.
Wow.
Do we hear about those kind of things?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Heroicism.
Mitt Romney. Now, I actually heard this live on the radio, but and he didn't use Bill Maher, but Arlen Specter, okay, who's written a book about the inside politics. Isn't it funny, TC? They write these books about inside politics and dogs everybody after they're out of office.
Right.
You know? Anyway, the Republican Party has moved so far right you can't recognize Mitt Romney. Bill Maher had it exactly right. Now, when I heard the radio interview, he didn't use Bill Maher. But he did say this. Mitt Romney has changed positions more often than a pornographic movie queen.
Ooh.
Now, come on, Arlen. You can't come up with...
That's pretty harsh.
You change positions more than somebody playing Twister. You know, why do you have to use a porn queen?
Well, he got your attention.
Yeah, but Arlen, that was a bad analogy.
Yeah.
Big political news, George Bush. Shocker. This is H.W. Bush, Mr. 43, is going to endorse Mitt Romney. Dun, 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 dun.
Hey, can you get your dad to come along?
Oh, I take that back. This is George Herbert Walker's going to. I thought he already endorsed him.
Oh, the big guy.
Yeah, I thought he already endorsed Mitt Romney.
41.
George W. is not endorsed. I thought this was going to be George W.
Well, that's better for Mitt. I'd rather have 41 endorsement than 43's endorsement.
Absolutely. Nobody wants 43's endorsement.
Go away. Nobody likes you.
I'm going to go down to Crawford, Texas and saw up some cedar. Going to ride my mountain bike and take my chainsaw, put it on my back of my bike, and go saw up some cedar. You know, I like sawing cedar. Remember they bring the cameras down there and watch me sawing cedar up? I used to always think to myself, what the hell you sawing cedar for? You're just sawing these trees down for no good reason, but you're sawing cedar. And he riding his little president riding around the bike with that little wimpy helmet on. President of the United States shouldn't wear a helmet. President of the United States should not need a helmet. John Wayne would not wear a bike helmet if he wore a bicycle.
That's right.
Did you see John Wayne on a horse, TC, with a helmet? No.
Or Roosevelt?
No, he wouldn't. Teddy Roosevelt wouldn't wear a helmet. Here's a little George W. Bush riding his mountain bike on the dirt with a helmet. Where's Will Ferrell? Where's Will Ferrell when you need him? Well, that's rocking right there.
Yeah, it is.
We come back. We got some economic news, and we are going to get into Obamacare. The Bulldog on Real Talk 1160.
UC Bearcat baseball team pounded my UD Flyers yesterday. 24 hits. They beat them, 17-8. They're back in action on Saturday versus Pittsburgh, 3:30 pregame. Steve Jarnicki has the first pitch at 4 o'clock right here on Real Talk 1160. And now, back to the Bulldog.
Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. Bulldog Nation member Jim from Verona had a nice observation about Arlen Specter's comment with Mitt Romney having more positions than a porn queen.
Yeah.
Arlen Specter, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, this, that, other. Arlen Specter making fun of somebody changing positions is the pot calling the kettle black.
There, good point. Like the hokey pokey politician.
The hokey pokey. And by the way, I'm going off the board. Remember the show Joker's Wild? And in Joker's Wild, you were able to go off the board where we had already posted, TC doesn't even know this, the feel-good song of the day was going to be Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. But in honor of my daughter's birthday, Erica Caroline, and she doesn't even know this singer because it was way before her time. But anyway, my daughter, Erica Caroline, is kind of a woman power kind of girl, okay? She's into female power. She's kind of independent thinking. She doesn't really care for Obama, but she doesn't like my political views, if you know what I mean. I've failed to properly influence my daughter. But this song conjures up great memories because one day my cousin Josh, well, we got to go. This is for my daughter Erica's birthday, the feel-good song of the day, and all her liberal women's rights stuff. Helen Reddy. This is a classic, TC.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is for all you women libbers.
Hey, yes, I'm wise. She
Wisdom for that pain.
Didn't she sing with Warren at one time?
Yes. You've paid the price, ladies. You can do anything that a man can do and better.
Wasn't she with Nirvana for a while? She can do anything.
Anything.
Except one thing.
That's the wrong thing to tell a man.
Except one thing.
For my daughter, Erica Caroline, a true woman's libber. She looks a little bit Helen DeGeneres singing this right now, doesn't she? I'm just saying.
Looking back, hindsight.
I'm just saying. Does she like men, TC? Do we know?
I never heard anything to the contrary.
Okay. I wonder if there's any women liberals that even listen to my show.
Not anymore. Nice harmonies.
You can do anything, ladies. Bulldog Nation member Amy, I'll hear from her.
Yeah.
What do you think, Amy? You a Helen Reddy fan?
That song was huge, though, when it came out.
Oh, it was huge. I like the song.
Yeah. So I wonder what she's doing now.
I don't know. Where are they today?
She probably does a radio talk show in Fort Wayne somewhere.
A woman's talk show. She's got good pipes.
Yeah.
You look at her crowd, though. Her crowd's not even clapping. They're just staring at her. Man.
That's a subdued audience.
It's a subdued audience. This is on the Midnight Special in 1975.
They're all sitting there. I can't believe we got tickets, dude.
To honor my woman's liber daughter, Helen Reddy. Funny story. My cousin Josh and I went down to Lake Barkley at the invitation of my Uncle Paul, who was a jeweler in Evansville, and they had a little reunion down at the lake. So my cousin Josh, with his dad's Lincoln, is pulling Josh's boat, And we head down towards Lake Kentucky, and we forgot our money.
Uh-oh.
We actually had to give up at a gas station. We had to trade in a case of Cokes and an 8-track tape of Helen Reddy for our gasoline.
Wow.
True story. Here's an 8-track tape of Helen Reddy. The guy at the gas station liked Helen Reddy. So we gave up the 8-track tape of Helen Reddy and a case of Cokes for gasoline.
Gas must have been really cheap back then.
Well, actually, it was time when it was expensive. Remember the pumps? It was like twice what was showing on the pump. Because the pumps weren't.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because
I got screwed a couple times on that. Yeah,
the pumps weren't calculated to add up the whole numbers.
I'd forgotten about that.
So it was double, and it was kind of like, oops. So like you put $10 of gas in, it was really $20.
Right, that's $20. What? I only have 10.
Hey.
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court continued the oral arguments on the issue of Obamacare, and yesterday the issue was severability. And what severability is if you strike down part of the law, does the whole law fail, or does the rest of the law that's not stricken down, in this particular case, that mandate? Mandate means to require, have to. So the mandate that you have to have health insurance, if that would be stricken down, whether or not there was severability. In addition to that, there was the issue of sovereignty between the federal government and the states on the issue of the Medicaid provisions. The government was basically going to send the states a certain sum of money for Medicaid, and they were requiring the states to do X, Y, Z, and if the states didn't, they were going to withhold federal funds. Kagan actually calls this, listen to this is from Justice Kagan. The federal government is here saying, we are giving you a boatload of money. It doesn't sound coercive to me, I have to tell you. Are you kidding me? This is the former Solicitor General who argued at one point in time for the passage of this law. And here she is sitting in judgment of a law. This is like your prosecutor sitting on your jury. What do you think's going to happen? Guilty. Incredible. Justice Kennedy questioned Solicitor General Varelli on whether the federal government is usurping state power. Quote, do you think that there still is inherent and implicit in the idea of federalism, necessary for the idea of federalism, that there be a clear line of accountability so the citizen knows that it's the federal or state government who should be held responsible for a program? I tell you right now, Kennedy, I have to give it to him, asks some good questions. They're poignant. They're on the mark. They're clear. They're concise. They sound rational and reasonable. As opposed to Kagan, the rookie. Well, the federal government giving you a boatload of money doesn't sound crucial to me, I tell you. What a jurist. What a jurist.
You know, the Supreme Court's kind of like an LP. Think about it. You got 12 cuts on there. Okay, maybe 4 of them, 3 of them are really, really good. And there are a few fillers, and then there's one that's like, oh, man, I hate that song.
And you know what? That's a good point. That's a good point. Bulldog Nation member William was complaining that Clarence Thomas is the only justice that didn't ask a single question. And he was mad about it. Like, he's getting paid. He ought to ask some questions.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Clarence Thomas. I'm going to give Clarence Thomas Oracle status. And the reason why is because, unlike all these other justices, he's not playing the games. He already knows what he's going to do. He doesn't need to ask any questions or even have oral argument. TC, oral argument is a big waste of time.
Okay.
It's all showmanship. Right. Do you think any of these justices, after reading the briefs, consulting with their law clerks, do you think any of these justices don't already know what they're going to do?
Right. I mean, they've had a couple of years to think about it.
Oh, exactly. 2 years to study it.
Yeah.
Some more fun stuff. Justice Ginsburg summed up a question of most judges when she said, why should we say it's a choice between a wrecking operation, which is what you are requesting, or a salvage job? And the more conservative approach would be salvage rather than throwing anything out. You know what that means, folks? Have you considered the fact that they might get a majority or an unanimous vote that the mandate is unconstitutional and try to salvage what's left? That's what Ginsburg is arguing. We come back more on Obamacare on Real Talk 1160. Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow there's going to be a hell of an experiment.
Oh, yeah.
We have made arrangements with Metro. We are going to do our show. Where am I supposed to go?
Now you're going to start.
I'm not going to come here.
No, you're gonna get on the bus at Governor Square.
Okay.
I think it's called Governor. It's a block over from Fountain Square, or 2 blocks over from Fountain Square.
All right. Well, we are going to be doing the entire show tomorrow from a Metro bus, which is going to drive the route of the streetcar.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be epic.
It will, and see, this is going to lead to big money, because once we can start broadcasting on that trolley and advertising green water, baby, the money will be rolling in.
Also, I have a major announcement. We are going to be doing our show opening day, April 5th, from Findlay Market. And Findlay Market is where everybody's gathered to start in the parade. I did that last year, so there's a huge crowd. We'll have a lot of fun getting people just to come off the street to say something on the radio. But I want to announce that the first, I think I got about 50 shirts. The first 50 people that come over to say hi to the Bulldog on opening day will get a Bulldogs Mafia black long sleeve T-shirt.
Wow.
Retail value $25. And
Jay, tell us about the shirt.
That is a personal gift for me. It's a long sleeve tee. It's a really high quality T-shirt. It's got Bulldogs Mafia on it. It makes you look like a badass.
That's right. That's right. And on opening day too, of course. Everybody listening, most people listening know it's a big holiday in Cincinnati. It's a big event. But just in case we have a few people who have never experienced opening day in Cincinnati, call in sick to work that day.
Call in sick. And
Your boss will understand.
And I look forward to seeing you along the parade route. We are going to be in the parade. Look for my big black F-150 truck with my logo on the side. We're going to have a Real Talk 1160 banner. The Bulldog Nation flag will be flying proudly. Everybody will be wearing red stuff. I'll have my red baseball hat on and my red shirt. But we will help celebrate the Reds opening day with everybody else in Cincinnati. It's fun to be part of it. Go ahead.
You have a new addition to our family now.
Who is that?
The Wild Man is joining the Other Guys sports show.
Is this permanent now?
I believe it is, yeah.
The Wild Man. I've invited the Wild Man to do my show in the morning with me. I have not heard back. You know, the Wild Man can be kind of grumpy.
Well, you know.
But that's okay. He can be grumpy.
Well.
Here we go. Back to Obamacare. Justice Scalia equated, that means considered, reading the 2,700 pages of Obamacare to cruel and unusual punishment.
Ouch.
And you know what? He is right. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, I don't care who you are. If you tried to read this law, you would rather read Pride and Prejudice 6 times. I mean, this is incredible. You cannot read this. Or Dostoevsky. I mean, you cannot read this. It is not English. It makes no sense whatsoever. None. By the way, Florida Senator Marco Rubio endorsed Mitt Romney Wednesday, urging the GOP to come together. And how about this? After bashing him so much, Rick Santorum now says, I wouldn't be opposed to being Romney's VP. Rick, screwed that up a long time ago.
Well, I didn't mean all those things I said. I didn't mean to throw all that mud.
You screwed up a long time ago.
And everybody waits till the last minute and say, I want to throw my support behind the front runner now.
Those late night confessions.
Because everybody wants a cabinet position or some extra money thrown to their state or make me the VP, make me Secretary of State.
That kind of reminds me of that song by the Grassroots, Midnight Confession.
That's a good
It's a great song. Want to play it? We can get to Midnight Confessions.
So we do that or wait till tomorrow?
We'll wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll make that our feel-good song. It's already declared.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, I want to give you both sides. Oh, before we get back to Obamacare, Mitt Romney is gaining on Santorum in Pennsylvania. Uh-oh. And let me tell you one of the reasons that he will probably win Pennsylvania. In these big states, folks, like Illinois, like Florida, Romney wins. And do you know why? Money. He can flood the Philadelphia television market. He can flood the Pittsburgh television market. And that makes a huge difference as opposed to some of these other states like Louisiana. You know, you got New Orleans, but it's a rural state. You can't hit it like you can these other states. So Romney is gaining ground on him. Oh, my. Listen, in February, he had a 29-point lead. Santorum did. It's now down to 2. Can you say Romney's going to win Pennsylvania, and that will be humiliating for Santorum? Meanwhile, Newt Gingrich is still planning on staying in that race. The Georgia watermelon is still going to stay in all the way to the convention and be ignored. You know what? For what he's doing, I hope the Republican Party decides we're not even going to give you a chance to speak. Certainly not speaking in prime time, because they all want to speak in prime time. Say, Newt, you get to speak at noon the first day of the convention.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, like when no one's going to be able to hear you.
Santorum, you follow him at 12:03. Yes, Newt, you got 2.5 minutes.
Wow. Gee, you're really harsh. Now, don't you think Newt's kind of like on the same level now as an occupier?
Yes.
Kind of annoying like that?
Yes, he's a Republican occupier.
Like, go
That's
away.
a good point.
Just go away. Take a bath.
Yeah, take a bath.
Oh, your campaign already took a bath. I'm sorry.
Or go on a diet.
There you go.
You know what? It's not good to look
Horizons.
obese while you're campaigning.
Yeah, he should have called New Horizons first. 2 years ago, he should have called New Horizons.
By the way, we were joking about Mitt Romney's comments on Jay Leno yesterday and of some of the things. I saw another clip of it, and I didn't know that they asked him what he thought of Chris Christie, and he used the word indomitable. And it threw Jay Leno back, because it was a big word, indomitable. And so Romney explained why he meant indomitable, and he goes, I'll try to use smaller words going forward. So for Trump, he used huge. I mean, it was kind of funny. Leno didn't know how to deal with this indomitable. Sorry, Romney's got an education.
Yeah,
everybody knows what the indomitable snowman, indomitable Chris Christie. And basically says you attack him, you're going to, something's going to come back and hit you. By the way, I don't care what anybody says. If you're in politics, you have to be that way. You have to not let people throw rocks at you and not get a boulder thrown back at you, because it teaches them, man, we want to do this because this guy's going to freaking come hard.
Right.
I mean, it makes a difference. That's why I come hard at people. People say, we're going to mess with the Bulldog. You better pack your lunch, and I think that reduces the punches you get thrown at you.
Isn't it interesting also now that every presidential candidate does the late night talk show circuit?
Oh.
I mean, can you imagine Nixon back in the
Jay,
60s?
Well, Jay, I would call him indomitable.
On the Jack Carr show or something, I can't see it. With that 5 o'clock shadow.
It all started from Arsenio Hall and Bill Clinton playing that sax.
You're right. That's right.
Arsenio Hall's show was good.
It was a good show.
Why did it get canceled? Or did he quit? I
think
forget.
He quit. Yeah, he decided he didn't want to do the show anymore.
Wow. Kind of like David Chappelle. Let me see. You have a hot show on the Comedy Channel, the David Chappelle show, and you decide that, hey, I'm going to the beaches of Africa and smoking some weed and then a hangout. Isn't that where? Didn't he go to Africa?
He went to Africa. He needed time to count all of his money.
Jeez. And he lives in Ohio. He lives in a small town in Ohio.
I think he's from Youngstown or...
David Chappelle. He is a funny dude.
He is.
You ever see the show when they do draft picks?
No.
Oh, my God. They draft people like the Asians, the whites, and the blacks do draft. And then they do trades of people like somebody drafts Tiger Woods, and then they trade him. It pushes the envelope, but it is funny.
Yeah, he does.
It is funny.
He does. Yeah.
Activism and the Roberts Court from the New York. Well, we're going to save this when we come back because we're up on a break. When we come back, folks, I'm going to give you the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times perspective of the oral arguments for Obamacare. And imagine this, folks. They're quite different. There's a little bit of contrast between what the New York Times thinks and what the Wall Street Journal thinks about what went down this week and what the law is and what the Constitution says. I can tell you one thing. What a neat teaching lesson for law schools. I hope Chase Law School is my daughter's class plugged into this, because if I was teaching constitutional law, I would have my kids listening to these tapes, reading these transcripts, because it's real.
Right.
It's real.
Yeah.
In real time. When we come back, more Radio Superbity on Real Talk 1160.
Remember the Huckabee Report coming up at 8:30 this morning on Real Talk 1160. And now back to the Bulldog.
Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. Here's your lesson for the day. Listen to these words, folks. God, I love those words. Love that song. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, the New York Times is kind of a liberal bent. The Wall Street Journal has a little conservative bent. If you did not know, Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal and Fox News. When he bought the Wall Street Journal, I thought that is a brilliant, brilliant move. He paid a lot of money for it, but it's paid off. And you know what? The paper's actually improved, in my opinion. Now, this is from the New York Times. You know, I like to brag to you that if you check out my blog and newsletter every day, you don't have to read the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, because I'm doing it for you and reporting to you the main things. Well, this is from the New York Times editorial today. Activism and the Roberts Court. Conservative justices seem willing to make policy beyond their constitutional role. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, that is an incredible statement, because no justices are more about activism than the liberal justices of the Supreme Court in its history. This is what they wrote. The ideological nature of the health care case was obvious on the last day of oral argument. By the time the proceedings were over, much of what the conservative justice said in the court seemed like part of a politically driven exercise, especially because the issues addressed on Wednesday were not largely constitutional in nature. Are you kidding me? They're supposed to be intelligent people in the New York Times. Okay, on Wednesday there was a consideration of sovereignty between the states and the federal government. Where are the lines drawn? Where is the power drawn? That's not a constitutional argument. They continue. In fact, they were the kinds of policy questions that are properly left to Congress and state government to answer, not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decides issues between the states and the federal government. This is the largest newspaper in the country, and this is how stupid they are. On Wednesday morning, the court heard arguments on the issue of severability, the question of what should happen with the rest of the 2,700-page statute if the requirement that most Americans obtain health insurance is struck down. The insurance mandate was effectively reduced to a bumper sticker by the opponents in their constitutional challenge, and the entire law reduced to little more than an appendage to the mandate. Quote, my approach would be to say that if you take the heart out of the statute's gone, Justice Antoine Scalia said, a position held by the law's opponents who want to demolish the whole thing. But H. Bartow Farr III, what a name, my name is H. Bartow Farr III, the lawyer appointed by the court to argue for upholding all or other parts of the law if the mandate falls, showed how careless and wrong that view is. His presentation compellingly explained what Congress actually passed a thoughtfully constructive, comprehensive solution to the enormous problems of insufficient insurance coverage and never-mounting costs of health care. As Mr. Farr explained, the fate of the mandate, it should not determine the survival of the other elements of the law, like prohibiting insurers from denying coverage to people with pre-existing conditions and charging them higher fees, which can operate without the mandate. Under general principles, courts must avoid nullifying more of a law than is necessary. Justice Kennedy suggested it would be more extreme to preserve part of the statute than strike down the whole thing, because that would alter Congress's intent. I'm telling you, Kennedy's coming off like a great jurist to me. The last issue before the court was the law's expansion of Medicaid, which will be financed mostly by federal funds. The challengers contend the expansion coerces them to cover more poor people, and that the penalty for refusing to do so would be cut off of federal money. This is a bizarre view that treats Medicaid, a voluntarily federal-state partnership, as an affront to state sovereignty. There is no legitimate constitutional question on this issue. Are you kidding me? The New York Times, ladies and gentlemen of the American jury. Now, let me just say this about this whole issue of striking down part of it or all of it. They did not have a savings clause put into this law, which I think is funny. Most laws or contracts says if any or part of this law or contract is found illegal or invalid, it will not affect the rest of the law, blah, blah, blah. These jackwagons didn't even put that in it. Didn't even put it in there. But the constitutional questions that were considered yesterday are big questions. And I can tell you right now, when I think of Kennedy, I'm just talking about the quality of justice. The brain power of Kennedy, Roberts, Scalia, Alito, and Thomas, compared to the brain power of Ginsburg, Breyer, and by the way, I like Breyer, Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. Oh my God. It's amateur hour. You compare resumes, written opinions, backgrounds, abilities. You compare, it's not even close. Kagan comes off like a little add-on, like, hey, we needed somebody to sit in that ninth chair, and she was out in the parking lot, so we said, hey, can you come in and fill in? Mrs. looks like Fred Flintstone. She does. She looks like Fred Flintstone. I wonder if I get sanctioned by the Supreme Court for saying that Kagan looks like Fred Flintstone.
Now, that's not very nice.
All right. The Wall Street Journal. How much time till the break?
I'd give you another 2 minutes.
Well, we're going to begin the Wall Street Journal then. In the Wall Street Journal, this is their editorial. The Obamacare reckoning. After the third and final day of the Supreme Court scrutiny of the affordable... Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, you know how you solve this ever-growing... See, they keep talking about how health care keeps growing and it's such a burden and it's increasing our deficit. Do you know how you solve the problem? You stop having the federal government pay so much. This Medicare D, Part D, which is the prescription unfunded drug problem, or the law, is a problem. Passed by Bush and the Democrats. Unfunded. By the way, it is a bigger problem than Social Security now. Thank you, George Bush and the Democrats. Now, if we would stop spending so much federal dollars, we would have. I swear to goodness, I don't understand. Do you know people like to make money in capitalism and private enterprise? If we could get the federal government out of health care, I'm talking about going 180 degrees different than where we're headed with Obamacare. I'm talking about getting them out of health care. Do you know what will happen, folks? People would start buying health care from insurance companies who wanted to get in the business to make money by selling health insurance. You watch. Just make it wide open, folks. Wide open. We come back. More on Obamacare on Real Talk 1160. Eric Deters, the Bulldog, on Real Talk 1160. I'm going to conclude today's show with a outstanding, calm rant about Obamacare.
There's an oxymoron right there for you.
Yes.
A calm rant.
A calm rant. The Obamacare reckoning from the Wall Street Journal. Let me see here. Most of the justices seem to be discomforted by the proposition to one degree or another, and in Wednesday's session they grappled with the court's options and the consequences if the mandate falls. Over the hour-long exchange, the justices conducted a tutorial about the limits of judicial power in handling a huge bill if its core is found to be unconstitutional. The issue is known as severability. But the listen to this. What happens usually, now this is what I've been saying, folks. Usually Congress includes a clause that clearly defines its intent in that event, if it's severable. In other words, if any part of this law, 2,700 pages, and guess what, folks? They don't put that clause in there. This is from the Wall Street Journal. But the Obama Democrats neglected to include one amid the political rush to pass the law. That is political malpractice. Political malpractice. By the way, my rant is going to have some original comments that nobody, in national talk shows, cable, radio, are mentioning. None of those other people whose names I'm not allowed to mention. The court could uphold the individual mandate, which case is moot. Justice Ginsburg said, we already covered that. When you say judicial restraint, Justice Kennedy said, you are echoing the earlier premise that it increases the judicial power if the judiciary strikes down other provisions of the act. I suggest to you it might be quite the opposite. Overturning the mandate alone, he continued, can be argued at least to be a more extreme exercise of the judicial power than to strike the whole. The court's liberals push back by suggesting that the individual mandate is just a tool to make other provisions work. Oh, give me a break. So far, the larger liberal reckoning hasn't been as nuanced as the high court's, as evidenced by the media mugging of Solicitor General Donald Verrilli. Liberals castigated his performance during oral arguments Tuesday and all but blamed him for any Obamacare defeat. Ha, ha, ha! They've turned against their own lawyer. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen of the American jury. When your case sucks, blame the lawyer. Donald Verrilli is doing a terrible job at oral argument because he doesn't have a very good case to argue. This is great from the Wall Street Journal. Mr. Verrilli may not be Daniel Webster. No, he's not. But he was more than competent. The problem isn't that he's a bad lawyer. It's that he is defending a bad law with the bad arguments that are the best the administration could muster. Liberal justice, just as Sonia Sotomayor, all but begged him to define a limiting principle on the individual mandate and therefore on federal power. He couldn't. Not because he didn't know someone who would ask, but because such a principle does not exist. Mr. Verrilli came closest to a limiting principle and got some sympathy from Justice Kennedy when he claimed that everyone will use health care at some point in their lives. So what's the big deal with making young people pay more earlier? And if you remember, they came up with the argument, okay, well, why about a cell phone? You know, everybody's going to need it sometime or another to call an ambulance or a police or something. So why not make them have a cell phone so they can make that phone call easier? And then concluding from the Wall Street Journal, even if this were true, it is a deeply radical claim. The government is mandating that everyone buy health insurance specifically. But by this reasoning, any economic or personal decisions that touch on health care could be used as a pretext for federal police powers. People who lead healthy lives consume fewer medical service than others. So the government could mandate exercise, a healthy diet, and more. This is power without limit, which is not what the Constitution provides or what its framers intended or what the Supreme Court has ever tolerated. That is why this week's argument have been so careful, why they have revised the establishment's thinking, and why they are so important to the future of American liberty. Now, side by side, folks, how incredible is it? The New York Times tries to blame the conservatives on the Supreme Court for policy and not principle, while the Wall Street Journal editorial points out just the opposite, that it's the Democrats who are trying to make some big political policy with universal health care, and it's the conservatives who are showing the judicial restraint. The Wall Street Journal gets it right. The New York Times gets it wrong. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, I am a paradox. I am a businessman who believes in conservative principles. I am a plaintiff's attorney. You know, one of those quote-unquote trial lawyers that the conservative Republicans love to bash. I can tell you right now that when it comes to my libertarian conservative ideology, give me the conservatives on the Supreme Court. When it comes to my law practice, give me the liberals. And you know why? Because the liberals on courts, on all courts, state, federal, appeals courts, Supreme Courts, the liberals generally want to ignore the Constitution and do what they think is quote-unquote just and right and fair, so forth and so on, which is exactly what I want for my clients. So don't tell me, ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, I know firsthand more than anybody. Conservatives on courts want to follow the strict interpretation of the law and the Constitution. It is the liberals that want to play jokers wild and go off the board. And by the way, in quite candor, depending on which situation I have, I agree with both ways of doing things. There are times that I look at a situation and say, you know what? The court had a great opportunity here to do something good and didn't. Well, I just want to say right now that I do not see the Obamacare health care bill as an example of something that they're going to be doing something good if they let it stand. It is an absolute disaster. And I'm going to go ahead and begin my rant relative to the disaster of the bill, and I'll just take it on to the next section. All right, they passed this law, 2,700 pages, without any input or consideration from the Republicans. As I've been pointing out, health care is for everybody, not a certain party. And then when you dive into this thing, which is like reading Greek or Sanskrit, you find these things like it's requiring 1099s between businesses. You imagine that? 1099s between every transaction. If I do business with Real Talk 1160 and we have a transaction, we got to issue 1099s between each other. Barack Obama last year said, well, maybe the 1099 provision is something that we can take out of this thing. Mr. President, why was it in there in the first place? And let me tell you something, folks. To my knowledge, I am the only person on talk radio or cable television that's asked this question, and I have yet to get the answer. I want to know the names of the actual individuals who wrote this bill. Ladies and gentlemen, of the American jury, it wasn't congressmen and senators. It was staffers and people outside the political process that cut and pasted this thing together. I want to know who they are. Who actually put this bill together? And let's ask them some questions. Who are they? Where did they draw all this from? Why did they do it? Who supervised their work? What interaction did they have with the Congress and the United States Senate? Don't you understand, folks? And nobody's ever asked this question but me. 2,700 pages. Who are the actual individuals who put it together? Well, my name is Jim Johnson, and I'm a staffer for so-and. Who are they? They have not been revealed to us. Why? We come back more on Real Talk 1160. Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, when Barack Obama became president of the United States, he said he was going to be transparent. He said that he was going to allow laws to be passed with everybody considering, everybody's input, sitting down with Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans got zero input in the health care bill. That's incredible because, as I keep saying, health care applies to everybody. It's not a Democrat, Republican, independent thing, right? And look what he pays the political price for doing that. 26 states, all Republican governors are, start filing these lawsuits. But again, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, we don't know who put this monstrosity together. Who do they work for? Who paid them? Don't we have a right to know? And does it, we already know this, folks. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I will bet only less than 10. And only them because they want to say that they did. I would say less than 10 members of Congress read Obamacare bill. I have no doubt in my mind that less than 10 read this bill. And there is no way, in my humble opinion, that smart Democrats wouldn't have looked at this thing and said to themselves, this is going to draw a constitutional challenge. We better make sure that it's right. And they didn't. They didn't even add the good old I'm not kidding you, folks. It is drafting 101 that you have a severability clause on a contract or in a bill. And they didn't put it in there. It's incredible. Remember the golden rule that I have taught you. If something is complicated, it's bad for you. The only exception that I always mention is medicine. A doctor could explain some kind of complicated medical procedure or ailment that you have that's hard to understand, and the treatment might still be good for you. Other than medicine and engineering, if you get handed a big, long document to review and signed, I will guarantee you it's bad for you. Is there any doubt in your mind that all those documents that you signed at the bank when you did a refinancing or you bought a house, that all those documents basically are to nail you if you don't make a payment? Yes, that is correct. Things that are complicated, bad. Things that are simple, good. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, the IRS tax code, 10 times the size of the Bible. Bad. Bad, bad, bad. Obamacare, 2,700 pages. Bad. You know what? If I was called on to try to, how should I say this, solve the health care problems in this country, and if I was the president of the United States, here's what I would have done. I would have sat down with Republicans and Democrats and said, all right, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you all to each write down a list, each one of you, of the things that are wrong with this country's health care system and your ideas to solve it and get them back to me, okay? I'd get all those back. And then I'd have another meeting with them, and I said, okay, everybody mentioned on everybody happened to be on everybody's list the problem with pre-existing conditions. Let's both our parties and I come together and let's pass a simple law that deals with pre-existing conditions. Okay, Mr. President. Okay, yeah, that'd be great. It'd be good for America. It'd be good for all of us. No partisanship here. We're going to come in united. Let's get it done. So that's what we would do. And then we would look at something else. We look at something else and say, well, we've got a real problem going on in this country with Medicaid reimbursements. All right, how do we solve that problem? And just pass simple, concise legislation that everybody agrees on. And guess what? All of those things we don't agree on, if you can't find common ground, well, then try to push those through if you can constitutionally, if you own the majority. But then you don't have to worry about all these other problems that you solved. You know what it is. These egomaniacs that become presidents of the United States. They want to have their name. Come on. They called it Obamacare. You know who gave that name? Their administration. And Obama yesterday said, well, I called Obamacare because I care. I feel your pain just like Bill. That's why I'm talking like this now. I might be Barack Obama, but I'm like Bill Clinton. I can feel your pain. I care. That's why I called Obamacare. Well, guess what, folks? They all got these egos to where they want to put their name on some legislation. Like George Bush wanted to put his name on that unfunded prescription health care bill that he helped out all those senior citizens on and bankrupted America in the process. See, so instead of doing what's best for the country with common sense, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, I say this all the time. When I'm standing in front of a jury complaining about what a doctor did, a cop did, a jailer did, or an employer did, or a driver did, I have to be able to tell that jury what they should have done. I'm doing that, folks. Unlike all the rest of the people in the country that are just bashing, I'm showing to you right now what should have been done. And what ought to happen when this bill is struck down as unconstitutional. So what should happen? Plain and simple. Let's solve each problem in health care with a single bill which the Republicans and the Democrats can get behind. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, what political party would you guess most doctors belong to? Now, I know that a lot of doctors, because of their education, they can be high-minded thinking people, and there's definitely some Democrats who are docs, but I would guess that most docs lean a little bit to the right, especially those who are elected to political office. Of course, you have the Howard Deans of the world. By the way, Howard Dean thinks it's going to be found unconstitutional. But you could sit down with the doctors in Congress and say, hey, you're Republican, what's going on here? Coburn from Oklahoma? Hey, what's wrong with this bill? How can we fix this thing? They tried to shove this down the American. Oh, and then I've mentioned this. I just want to reinforce this before I sign off today. How much did this cost Americans, the taxpayers, federal governments, state governments, hospitals, doctors, for consultants, planning, getting ready for Obamacare, the implementation of Obamacare, the forms that are going to be necessary for Obamacare, the study of Obamacare? There have been hospitals and doctors, I'll guarantee you, meeting with paid consultants to figure out what's in this bill, how it's going to be implemented, when's it going to be implemented. The incredible taxpayer costs for the Department of Human Resources, the hiring of regulators, the hiring of IRS agents, the hiring of bureaucrats to implement Obamacare. The hiring of states, Department of Human Resources to implement the Medicaid programs. The amount of money that it's cost to taxpayers, state taxpayers, federal taxpayers, private enterprise for a bill that has been in limbo for 2 years and is probably going to go down in June. And there's no appeal from the United States Supreme Court. Thank you very much. It's over. There, I had my piece. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Go listen to a feel-good song on Real Talk 1160.
It was almost a peaceful rant.
I missed a little bit, just a little bit.